Welcome back. We'll continue our media availability here at Sonoma Raceway with Joey Logano, driver of the number 22 Shell Pennzoil Ford Fusion. Joey, why don't we start off, we talked earlier today about how over the last 11 seasons we've had 10 different drivers win this race. Tell us a little bit about why this race tends to be a bit of a wild card.
I think it's obviously like any other road course we go to, strategy comes into play a lot. Rewatching the race here from last year, Kurt Busch was the fastest car, hands down. Maybe the 48 was the second fastest car. Neither one of them won. So it takes everything, is what I'm trying to get to win this race. Not just a fast car, but it takes the right strategy. It takes everything for it all to work out. So, it's not about where you start, it's where you finish this thing, and it's so challenging to have everything play out just right and have the cautions play out just right with your strategy. And I'm not saying it takes luck, because I believe you create your own luck, but you got to have a couple circumstances go your way.
All right, we'll open it up to the media. We'll start over here on the window, then we'll go over to George, and then we'll come back over here.
Joy, this race is obviously very aggressive. You've got the chase drivers who are going to go wide open, and you've got the other guys looking for points to get into that. How do you keep your cool when it's a hot day and the track is slippery?
I'm glad we won last week, or a couple of weeks ago. That part's nice to be able to come into a racetrack like this. Like you said, there's a lot of unknowns. Tempers will flare, and a lot of times it's because that you're trying to stop a really heavy stock car into that turn over there, which is basically a U-turn with no banking in the middle of a parking lot kind of feeling. So, and there's a couple of those around this racetrack. So, when that happens, mistakes happen. People are trying to slow down their cars, wheel hop, and tires are old, all that stuff. And that's a big opportunity to pass people. And feelings get hurt pretty quick. And it's just part of it. It's part of, I call it short track racing. That's where this racetrack basically is. So, keeping your cool is the utmost importance throughout this race, because at some point someone's going to run into you. You're probably going to run into somebody. It's part of it. You just got to remember what the big picture is.
George Winkler with NASCAR.com. Talking about that first win, now that you have it under your belt, what's your mindset coming into this race, especially in light of just how close you came last year to getting the title?
Yeah, it's nice. We had a nice cushion, going into Michigan to where we felt like we could still race hard and race aggressive. We weren't on the edge of falling out by points or anything like that. But it does take a little bit of, I don't want to call it pressure, but just it relieves you a little bit to say, okay, all right, we're in. It's definitely is nice. And like I said, coming to a racetrack like this, it's really nice. But I feel like it's a good little relief for our race team, and that we can start focusing in on making our cars faster for the chase.
Go ahead.
Hey, Joey. Phil Barber, Santa Rosa Press Democrat. Can you describe the challenges that different elevations and the elevation gain and loss presents on this track from a driver's perspective?
Yeah, it's really cool. Turn one is really steep up the hill, so you really don't use much brake. It's very deceiving. It doesn't look very steep, but it really slows down the cars a lot. It's quite the uphill. And then top of 3A is the opposite. And you crest that corner, you can't see anything before you get to the top of it. And then the car gets really, really light. There's no, obviously you're just kind of cresting the top of the hill. The car feels like it wants to jump. And you're trying to turn and put the tires put both the power to the ground with the tires, and it's really it's a big challenge over there. But that makes a lot of fun. And then you're trying to stop into turn 4, which is downhill, and you're trying to slow down the car, and it's even harder to stop the car. So those are kind of the big elevation changes around here. After that, there's definitely some elevation change, but not as much. And but I like the element that brings, and how you drive the car different, anticipating the load to gain or lose as you see hills, or in this case, mountains.
Go ahead.
Dominic Uttago on the RacingExperts.com. With there being the off week last week and this being a physically demanding race, how much does that off time affect you as a driver and the race team overall?
It's nice. You guys well know NASCAR racing has a very, very tough schedule, and it's nice to give your team a little bit of a break. Especially at this point of the season. We've been running hard here for a while, and it's nice to get a little bit of a break through these hot summer months. Allow them to have some time with their family. We got to remember to enjoy this a lot of times, and couldn't pick a better weekend after a win to have an off week. We had 2 weekends to enjoy it, so that was nice for us. But I was ready to get back to it. By Sunday rolled around, I was like, all right, I'm ready to go again. But it is definitely nice to kind of take a step back and enjoy Father's Day and all that.
Go back here.
Isabel Gonzalez, ESPN Albuquerque. How would you assess this first practice, and how do you think that's going to help you for Sunday?
Sonoma's still Sonoma. Nothing's changed. It's still fighting for a lot of rear grip in our race car. I feel like we've made some gains since the last time we were here, which is great. Are we where we need to be yet? I don't think so, but I think we're a top 5 or 6 car right now, which at this point last year during practice, I'd say I was a 15th to 20th place car. So we've made some gains for sure. We got another practice that I think we can definitely make our car a little bit better and work in qualifying trim.
To the back.
Hi, Charlie Vogelheim, Motor Trend Audio. So just about road courses specifically, you had a win, you come here, now you've had some fast laps on it. At a moment like this, are you wishing there were more road courses, or you just can make it through tomorrow and one more?
Either way, I love that NASCAR racing doesn't do the same thing every week. That's what I love. If we ran road courses every week, I'd be sick of it. If we ran ovals every week, I'd get sick of running 1.5 or half miles or super speedways. It's cool that we do different things, and we have to challenge ourselves as drivers and as race teams to develop packages to go fast at each track, and it takes it all at every single racetrack to win the championship. And I love that challenge because there's not really other forms of motorsports that really present that challenge of different types of racetracks and needing to be good at all of them to win.
Thank you. Any final questions for Mr. Logano? All right. Thanks for coming in today, Joey. Good luck this weekend.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Okay, wrapping up our media availability here today at Sonoma Raceway is defending race winner and defending NASCAR Sprint Cup Series champion, Kyle Busch. Kyle, welcome. And Kyle drives the number 18 M&M's anniversary Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. And Kyle, this is where it all started last year for you. Got that first victory that propelled you into championship season. When you look back a year ago, what sticks out in your mind the most about that?
I guess winning, obviously. Just having a not so great car, but having the opportunity to have pit strategy kind of work our way and get ourselves up front, and then to have a caution late in the race that really was able to allow us to get tires on our car for the short run, because we seem to have decent speed on the short run, and we were able to pass those guys in front of us on older tires and beat them to the end and outrace my brother there. So good effort for us there last year here, and it was really exciting to get that monkey off our back to get a win and get our season kind of turned around and heading in the right direction for really good things at the end of the season.
Questions now for Kyle Busch. If you have one, raise your hand. We'll start right here with Dominic.
Dominic Udigo on the RacingExperts.com. With this being a physically demanding track and the off week last week, how much does the off week and that off time affect you as a driver and your team overall?
Doesn't affect you a whole lot. I guess just with the difference of what a road course is anyways, it actually is sort of a welcome break, I guess, to have an off weekend before you come to a road course like this. And, the stresses and everything that's put on your body at this sort of race is a lot higher than it would be at any other track. So, Sonoma's a racetrack that's very demanding physically, mentally, and being able to hit all your marks and do all the right things and have fast car and be doing a good job behind the wheel to make sure that you can have speed in yourself. So lots of different things happen here.
Let's go to Holly Kane, and then we'll go to Bob Pockris. Raise your hand, Holly. We'll get your wireless right here.
Kind of along those same lines, when you were coming back last year after the injury, I'm sure you kind of had in your mind, all right, this is a place I feel like, I may get a win. This place isn't necessarily where I feel super great. Did it surprise you that you got your first win here on a road course, or did you fully expect that was a good possibility?
No, it was certainly a welcoming surprise to us for sure. It wasn't a track that that we'd circle on the calendar thinking that we'd have a shot to come back and be able to have a win at. We actually X'd this one out like we were just trying to survive and just get out of here with a good day and a good points day. And with the way that the 5 races had gone before coming here last year, the time in which I just got back in the car, we weren't running and finishing the way we needed to. I mean, we came here after a 43rd place finish at Michigan. Oh, look, I did it again this year. So it would certainly be nice to turn some things around. We've definitely, it seems like the May, June months just don't go my way, aren't really on our side.
Right here in the middle, if we can. Then we'll go to Bob Pockers.
Good afternoon, Kyle. Jason Tubes, KTVU, Fox affiliate here. Year over year, NASCAR has improved the fan experience, one of those being the Fox Series Radioactive, where people get to hear what you guys talk about between radio chatter. How do you feel it reflects on you as a driver, and have you ever felt like, oh man, I shouldn't have said that, or had a cringeworthy moment? Because you don't mince words very often.
Yeah, it certainly opens up our world that used to be private and makes it a lot more public than what it used to be. So I've definitely changed over the years in holding back a heck of a lot more, not pressing the radio button quite as much. So there's still those times where you get an outburst here or there, which I think every driver kind of has, but you've got to be able to refocus and re-energize that energy into something positive that can take you on into a race. And so I've had times where we've had outbursts and we've had bad finishes. We've had outbursts and we've had good finishes. We've won races doing that. So you just got to use it in the right way to help you. But definitely overall, I would say it keeps myself a heck of a lot more quiet on the radio.
Let's go to Bob Pockris, and then we'll go to Isabel.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. 2 questions. What can you put into words kind of what this win here meant last year for the championship run, and then also going to Daytona, no changes to the rules package. Were you hoping for any changes to the package?
So coming here last year was really great to be able to score that victory. I think it kind of propelled us a little bit in giving us a lot of confidence that we can go out there and we can do it. We can win races each and every week. You just kind of got to let them come to you sometimes. You can force your hand and you can make mistakes. And so sometimes when you're able to just kind of let it all out there and let it be what it is, you can win races that way too. So that's worked for us, and that's what got us to where we needed to be last year. As far as rule changes in Daytona, I was certainly hoping that we would see something. Coming off the race that we saw at Talladega, it wasn't probably A, very exciting racing, and B, it seemed pretty dangerous for all of us drivers in having 3 cars, go airborne in that event, and Danica Patrick have a heavy hit into the inside wall, real reminiscent to my hit at Daytona. So no rule changes is not a welcoming sight for me, but it is what it is. So we'll go and crash some more.
Isabel?
Isabel Gonzalez, ESPN Albuquerque. Just based on this practice alone, who looks like your biggest competition?
I would say Kurt Busch is really good. He's always fast here. I don't know what he does, but he's always fast here. He's got it figured out. Past him, I'd say that Kyle Larson looks pretty decent actually, and Dale Jr. Dale Jr.'s got a really fast car right now.
Let's swing over here to the left. Go ahead.
Kyle, the forecast is for it to get even hotter the next 2 days. How will that affect you and the car and the temperatures inside that car?
It'll be a hot one, that's for sure. This is a place, though, that you can't necessarily run 100% every lap. You've got to hold yourself back a little bit because the tire just won't withstand running on it as hard as you can every single lap because of the fall off. So the better you can take care of those tires, the more you take care of yourself and the more you take care of your car and everything else. So I'm sure there'll be some hot tempers, though, here on Sunday. There typically is at a short track race, which this to me is like a road course short track race. And, there's going to be some beating and banging and some moving some people out of the way for sure.
Other questions for Kyle? Final question right here.
How tough of an adjustment is it to switch over to a road course, and can you get enough practice to get comfortable out there?
I actually felt like I started off kind of a little rusty, but then by the end of the practice session, I felt like I was getting all I could get out of the race car. So, whatever that was, hour and a half, that was about all it took in order to get, really up and going. We'd had some decent speed, but we weren't all that fast as we need to be right now. So we've got some work to do, but I enjoy road course racing, always have. It's just something different. It lends itself to a different fan base probably, and a lot of fans that enjoy watching cars go left and go right. Maybe some IndyCar fans or some Formula One fans that just like road racing and seeing what kind of goes on here with the NASCAR Cup cars.
Kyle, thank you very much for coming in. Good luck this weekend. Thanks, buddy.
Got one of those.
Do you have one on you?
Thank you. Congratulations, Chip. Thanks. Thanks, Gary.
I wonder when our day ends or our duties after.
You want to go? 8 a.m.
All right, I think I'm going to go ahead and get started here. I think we have a couple more people we're going to be coming in here, but welcome up here next Chip Ganassi, owner of the number 1 and number 42 teams here in the Sprint Cup Series garage, of course. But also welcome and congratulations, Chip, here to talk a little bit about his historic win last week at Le Mans in the 24 Hours of Le Mans. And then kind of somewhat under the radar, of course, Chip added to his legacy of winning another series event at Daytona International Speedway with the Red Bull Global Rallycross event with his historic win at Le Mans in his first attempt ever. Chip Ganassi kind of adds to that historic lineup of wins. I was updating our boilerplate this week, and it was one of those oh shit moments when you look and you see the Indianapolis 500, Daytona 500, Brickyard 400, Rolex 24, 12 Hours of Sebring, and now of course the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Just unbelievable. Congratulations again, Chip. Kind of if you had any time to let that sink in and what you could share with us, and then I'll open it to the floor, of course.
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, it was. I have to say, when I accepted with Ford to undertake this program, I probably didn't realize the amount of passion that program carried with it throughout the many different levels of motorsport, whether it was with the fans or within the industry, and I really didn't. They said, "Have you ever raced at Le Mans before?" I said, "No, I drove there in 1986." And 1987. I drove there, and I didn't really remember. I didn't really remember the amount of there's a lot of nationalism over there, and a lot of pretty astute fans, that understand the sport, and really, in Europe, I would also add that in Europe that you have the added, when we come to a cup race here, we have Chevy, Ford, and Toyota, and that's pretty good, Where you come to an IndyCar race, they have, Chevy and Honda. If you go to an IMSA race, they have, 4 or 5 manufacturers. Well, I'll tell you, go to Le Mans, they have about, 17 manufacturers. I mean, it's like, everybody that's in the automotive racing world is represented there. And, and they make a big effort. A lot of these people make a huge effort in that event in the different categories. And so, it starts to dawn on you a little bit, and then you see, even on an off day there, on the off day, which is Friday, no one on track, they had well over 100,000 people there, just milling about, and this the questions you get, and like I said about the fans are so, so engaged, and so, and I really didn't realize, what I was up for when they said, you ready to race at Le Mans? Are you ready to take this on? I said, yeah, I think so. I didn't realize what a big thing that was. It's a big thing. Yeah. To be quite honest, so it was. And I will point out too that yes, we won and we finished first, third, and fourth. The top 3 cars were all IMSA cars. I was pretty proud of that. Even that Ferrari that was second was a car, a U.S.-based car. Even though, even with their 3 Italian drivers, was a U.S.-based car. So I think that says a lot about the IMSA series, and the level of competition that those guys bring to bring week in and week out. I thought that was interesting. The 4th place car was our other car from the UK, and that car actually is leading the points now in the WEC. So that's pretty exciting.
One more thing, if I might add, Steve Lauletta here told us a story after coming back from Le Mans this week about one of your IndyCar drivers, and Scott Dixon, and we all kind of know he's pretty damn good at what he does, but he shared with the fact that he was nervous about going over there for the first time, haven't seen the course, then goes out and sets the course record in that class. Just speak to the fact of what a unbelievable talent he is and what it means to have him in that lineup last week. Although he wasn't on the winning car, you captured two of the top 3 spots and 4th overall. But what it means to have a guy like Dixon in that lineup.
Yeah. Scott, I think he qualified the car with 6 laps on it. He had 6 laps. And he qualified. But the other thing, you say 6 laps, that's not very much. You have to remember, those laps over there are like 3 minutes 54. It's 8.2 miles around. One lap is 8.2 miles, I think. 8.1 or 8.2 or something, yeah. And just a great, great experience to go over there and represent the U.S., represent, IMSA, represent all the, Ford, obviously. They had a lot of visibility over there, and you don't realize a lot of these companies are worldwide companies. They sell cars on all the continents, So when you go over there, it's it's like being here. You're at a big race, you're at a big event, and arguably that race. I said this last week somewhere over there that if you take Daytona 500, Indy 500, Monaco, and Le Mans, those 4 races are probably what I would consider to be the soul of motorsports. Those are the 4 races that I think are on a worldwide basis, those are the 4 that are the roots of everything that we're about, and we do in motorsports. And so that was, it was certainly nice to participate there. So. And like I said, representing the USA, representing Ford and IMSA, and all that goes along with that was a nice feather in our cap, and appreciate all the support from everybody back here during the week. I was reading a lot of tweets and a lot of press and things, and appreciate the congratulations. And I was telling somebody today, you wake up. I actually slept for about 2.5, 3 hours on Saturday night. And, you wake up on those Sunday mornings of the 24-hour races, and it's kind of like being back in college, you're just in a stupor. And you weren't even drinking the night before, but you're in a stupor from just not being, no sleep, and you're going through the motions of everything, and you don't really remember much. And it wasn't until Tuesday when I woke up in my own bed in Pittsburgh that I was pinching myself, saying, "Did that really just happen?" So that was it was a pretty big thing. Yeah. And I want to thank everybody that made it possible for us. Obviously, Ford, Ford Motor Company. Cessna, one of our partners, stepped up, and we had to get Board Day and Dixon over there from that debacle the week before in Texas, the IndyCar race there. They never seemed to quite get off the ground, but they flew over. Cessna provided an airplane with Ford's help through to get Board Day and Dixon over there, so they could make the Monday afternoon all their sort of requirements with the press and the parade and such. So it was a huge effort on our team, and really an honor to participate in that event. And it's such a traditional thing. It's not unlike Daytona or Indy in terms of tradition and in history.
Excellent. We're going to open the floor to questions, sir.
Yeah, Charlie Vogelheim from Motor Trend Auto. Good to see you. So just to finish that off, and you kept mentioning Ford, and thanks for that, but this car rolls out a couple years ago, and the press is astonished at the Detroit Auto Show, and then it falls into your hands, and it is the 50th anniversary of the previous victory. Can you talk a little bit about the machine itself?
Yeah, speaking of 50 years, by the way, it was 50 years to the day from 1966, from their 1966 win there, yeah. So yeah, the car itself, what can I tell you? I can tell you this, it's a great story because originally when they talked about going over there, it was also, they were talking about going in 14, which was the 50th anniversary of the Mustang, and they were talking about going over there with a Mustang. And that's what I thought the deal was originally. And then they finally dragged us up to Detroit one day and said, hey, we want you to see this new car we're back on. Because by this time I had been running that engine in our prototype car, in our Daytona prototype car. We switched from BMW to Ford, and the idea was running that engine to get it, that was going to be in GT racing. And through the help of Doug Yates and the people at Roush Yates Motors, that's somebody else I want to thank, by the way. And so they dragged me up to Detroit one day, and it was a typical, big car company thing. You go into the design center, and there's all these young guys with clay models, and they're working on the 2018 Ford, something or other, and it's some little car. I'm watching them, nice, they're doing wheel designs and this and that. And they said, okay, come on with us, and we go, big, 100,000 square foot building or something. You walk down a big long hall, and then you go through a door and you go down some steps. And you can tell you're in the basement, and it's dark, and they turn the lights on, and you go down the hall again. There's another door, and you go down again. Just like in the books you read about Detroit, and you go down like the second basement, and you go back and you walk around some boxes, and no one. And then you come around to the thing, they security door, security, electronic door. Hit that, you go in, all of a sudden it's this bright place in the basement bowels of this building, and there are these guys there, and they say, come on, I want to show you this, and they pull the cover back, and I mean instantly you could see it was the grandson of the GT40, it was the Ford GT, and it, you could tell it was really an updated GT40, updated to 2016 standards, if you will, with whether it's aerodynamics or you can see, boy, that's a great looking car, right away you just see it. And I will say, thank God we didn't go back to Le Mans with a Mustang. That would have been a dud. I don't know if I want. Don't tell you. Maybe let me retract that. I don't know if I want to say that. Probably want to retract that. It wouldn't be a dud, but I mean, going back there with the GT, 50 years from the GT40 win. That's what my point I'm trying to make. And yeah, thank God we didn't go back with a Mustang. And you can say that for sure. But it was, the car itself is a, you can see it. It's a direct descendant, really, of the third generation GT, I guess you could call it. That middle 2005, 2006 car, I think they call it, was, that was sort of a 100th anniversary car, I think, that they did. That was the 100th anniversary of Ford, and they sort of, that was more like a, there's a special name for that car. I don't know what it is, but it's something that's it's not really a race car, but like a what?
Supercar.
Well, no, it's not. That I'm talking about that 2006 model.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was kind of like a. It was like a commemorative car. You know what I mean? They're like a commemorative car or something. It wasn't really a. It certainly wasn't a. It was. I don't know if it was. It a supercar? It wasn't really a.
No.
Yeah, that model was a. That intermediate model, that one in between. So while it was, a retro or whatever you call it, I don't know, retro design or, it was a nice car, but it certainly wasn't a racing car. Whereas this car, the new GT is hands down absolutely a racing car. I mean, it's, it was designed around the rules of racing it at Le Mans. I don't think that's any secret. And like the Ferrari was, and it's got the the V6 EcoBoost engine. It's a little tight when you get in and out of it. It's not the most comfortable thing to get in and out of I've ever seen. But it's a striking car, live and in color. I think the photographs don't do much for it, and that's I remember when I saw the photographs, I thought, well, gee, it looks kind of. But when you see the thing, it didn't look like the one I saw in the basement when I saw the photographs. I mean, when you see it again, you say, oh yeah, that's it's striking live, as opposed to in the photographs. The car's got a lot of speed on the straightaway, and it gets through the air pretty easily. And it responds to changes like a real racing car. You're not fighting around something that is inherent in a road car. When you take a road car and turn it into a racing car, a lot of times you say, well, but it's got the center of pressure, or the weight's too far forward or too far back, or the the whatever, something's in the wrong place for racing, and we didn't have any of that. The car responds. I mean, when the drivers come in, they say, hey, I'd really like to have a little more of this, or it's not accepting when I give it that, or whatever it's just. The car responds when you make changes to it. And that's a sign of a good racing car.
Excellent. Our next question.
Jerry Jordan, Performance Racing Network and Kicking the Tires. Okay, we heard your list of wins and accolades and merits. What's next for you personally that you would like to snap off and put on your resume?
Next is this race this weekend, right here at Sonoma. Yeah.
That's the next big one for you?
They're all big. Yeah, they're all big. But yeah, this is the next one.
Yes, Louis, sorry.
Yeah, Louis Frank Reuters. Speaking of this weekend, you got two guys who were very fast in practice, but Kyle is still looking for his first win. Any pressure on, are you putting any pressure on him, the team himself putting on any pressure to win, and is there a timetable you expect him to win by?
Yeah, I don't think I'd put any pressure on him to win. He's not the kind of guy that I think, he knows what's up. He knows he has to win, and there's no need for me to remind him of that fact, or I think he knows what it takes and what's expected of him. I don't feel the need to remind him. He's a smart guy.
Scanner traffic is now public domain. People can listen to it, but now
I'm sorry.
The scanner, the talk between the drivers and the pit crew, and all this stuff. As a race owner, does it make you cringe sometimes, some of this colorful language the guys use to comment back and forth to one another? Because now it's being published online and things like that. It has more legs to it.
That's a good question. I've always found that the drivers I respect the most are the guys that win races and win championships. And if you look at the guys that win races and win championships, 9 times out of 10, those are the more calm, succinct communicators on the radio. They don't get into a lot of, poor language or obscenities, or the guys that win on a regular basis, or the guys that win championships, don't feel the need to do that. So I think that probably should tell you something. You know, if you're yelling in the radio, you probably.
Have you ever had to pull one of your drivers aside or talk to
Sure.
them? Or
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah.
any funny stories or anything about that? Or?
No, let's just say that that now that that's in those are more in the public domain. I'm glad that certain drivers aren't with us anymore. Yeah. We'll say that much. Yeah, because that would have. Yeah.
Our next couple here, Holly, and then Bob and Mark. Holly?
Holly Kane, NASCAR.com. Chip, do you think about yet all of the things that you've won, all of these major races? I mean, it's absolutely, an incredible list. And when do you think about it? Do you wake up at night and think about that too? Or is that something down the road you'll say, okay? Or?
Well, I think about the next race, Holly. There'll be plenty of time someday when I won't be able to climb over the pit wall or, come to a race, and I'll have plenty of time to be thinking about the races that we won. And that's more for you and the press to to talk about. And I've never been one to. I want to look forward, and as long as I keep looking forward, I'm going to do that. I'm sure someday in my career I'll be looking back, but and I have a big day coming up Wednesday in Daytona this coming Wednesday with the Hall of Fame induction, and that's obviously something that I've always, guys that go in the Hall of Fame, I think, geez, they got 1 foot. I don't know if they're 1 foot in the grave or one out the door or whatever you want to say, but I mean, I don't look at myself as that kind of guy, so I got plenty of races to go and win yet, so. So I mean, I got plenty of time to go racing, so.
Bob?
Bob Pockris, ESPN. I'm not sure whether this is looking back or looking forward. How do you assess where your NASCAR team is at right now? And are you happy? Are you not? Where?
If you want to call it a weekend right now after the last practice, I'll be happy with that. Sure. Yeah. I think all these teams are a work in progress. They're never. It's not a static thing. Teams today, whether it's in auto racing or in any form of auto racing, or if it's a team of workers in, building widgets or in the retail industry, or anytime you're working with a team of people or building aircraft, or your team is always in some state of development. Your team, you're always trying to develop certain things within your team, and then until I would look I don't think it's any secret. I would look at my team in NASCAR and say, until we start winning on a consistent basis, we're in a big development still. We have work to do. Sure.
Mark? Sorry, I
Did I
didn't
answer your
catch
question?
Yeah. Are you staying here all weekend, or are you going to?
I'm actually going to Elkhart Lake. I got a sponsor thing there tomorrow night. Yeah, but yeah.
Bring back some brats.
Mark Garrow, PRN. Earlier today, I asked Kyle about the fact if he felt any extra pressure to win when you start building towards it. You're getting so close, and there's always that danger of before you get there sliding back a little bit. And he said there was obviously, when we look at some of the things that have happened to your teams in the past, gotten there or gotten the win and then slid back. How do you look at that, and how nervous are you when you've got things going your way and you're almost there back to the top of the hill?
Yeah, I could make an argument that yes, we have in fact, in the past won races and slid back, and that's whether it's due to people or partners or sponsors, whatever you want to call it. I can tell you, I could look back on each one of those and say, well, that happened because of this, or this happened because of that. And I would say, the way we're running now, I would say that I don't see anything on the horizon that would lead me to believe that we're going to slip back anytime soon. I think we're actually inching forward still, so I feel good about that. Yeah.
Sir?
Elliott Stern, Santa Maria Times. Your guys have been quick in practice, but in the race they have to come into the pits, stop, start, and get in and out. There's milliseconds can affect the race there. So how important does that pit crew then in helping your guys win that race?
Well, without question. I mean, I think that, everybody has seen it, on pit road. Those are the new cowboys of the new millennium here. The guys on pit road that, it's a difficult thing when you have, these teams now that are, all the teams really have people. That's all they do is pit the car. And these guys get paid a lot of money, and good for them. And they, it's a challenge when you run the business to have, have young people coming into the sport that are just as important as the guys building the cars. But you have, they work. How am I saying this? You have guys that have been with the company, for 10, 20 years, that are working day and night building cars, and then you have, these 20-year-old kids that come in and are making the same amount of money just pitting the car and working very little, if at all, on the car, and just lifting weights and drinking energy drinks all week, and it's kind of like, it's a little challenging from a management point of view. It's a little challenging from a team manager's point of view to manage those dynamics within a team, and I can tell you that every team up and down pit lane has that issue. So it's a challenge, but yes, you got to get out of the pits, or you might as well. You can have the best car, you have the best driver. You can't get out of the pits. If you can't get out of the pits within a fraction of a second from the leader, you might as well not even be here.
Well, times have been going down.
Right.
Like 13-second averages, 12-second, 11.
To 10.
The
Right.
guys are monsters out there. They carry the tires like they're tubeless, inner tubes.
Sure, and it's the the equipment. You got to have the super duper guns and the right.
Weights, you've got some monsters in the pits. So how do they do that?
Well, a lot of these guys used to, guys are used to that are carrying the tires. A lot of these guys used to carry footballs, or and we have a lot of people on pit lane are were serious collegiate athletes, maybe, that didn't get into the pros, or hurt their knee at the wrong time or something, and but are arguably professional athletes, and so my hat's off to those guys.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Bill Sessa with the Napa Valley Register. Speaking of Kyle and championships, he spent the week when other guys were going off fishing. He runs Ohio Sprint Week, runs 5 sprint car races.
Because if it rains in Lima tonight, he'll win the championship tonight in Market. He's leading the points, but he's not there for the last 2 races.
Yeah.
And it's $1,000 to win that.
Yes. So, it's like 6 straight nights of racing. He won 2. He only finished off the podium once. In Europe, a lot of guys would say, oh my gosh, I don't want my driver going off doing other things. In your opinion, how much does that help him when he comes here?
That's a good question, because I think, I'm probably not, I do think that racing, and there's no replacement for stick time, okay? So I will say that. Now, does racing a midget in Ohio have anything to do here with Sonoma this weekend? I could argue not, but you wouldn't know that by the practice results today, so maybe I stand corrected. Yeah.
But you're not concerned when he gets in the sprint car?
I'm concerned every time any driver gets in one of our cars, let alone somebody else's car. And I'm sure I'm concerned, but it's hard to each one of these drivers you meet have different personalities, different. They're not like cookie cutter guys. We all want to put everybody on a cookie cutter. Say, drivers need to do this, and team owners need to do that, and team managers need to do this, and crew chiefs need to do that, and engineers need to do this. These guys they're not all cookie cutter guys. And what motivates one versus another might be different, from whether it's, I don't imagine that racing a midget in Ohio last week would motivate Jimmy Johnson very much, but it does Kyle Larson, so good for him. And, if we can help him do that, I'm happy to do it.
Thank you again, Chip. We appreciate everybody here taking your time. I think we're getting ready to get loud.
Any last question? Okay.
Do they do the national anthems in Lamar like they
Yes, they do at the end, yes,
How does
yes.
that feel to
I'll tell you what, when I will say this, just in closing, all those races you talked about that I won, they were all in the United States. It's a little different when you're outside the United States, and it's really a treat to hear the national anthem when you're in another country, to hear your own national anthem.
That's cool.
Yeah, yeah. Right, right.